A beauty pageant contestant goes to extremes to win.
Holly Durst is about to compete in a beauty pageant, but before she does, she wants a makeover.
We're going to start with the nose here.
He may start with the nose, but Houston plastic surgeon Dr. Franklin Rose is getting ready to change her whole body.
We check back 1 month later, and wow, take a look at Holly. Here she is before, here she is after.
He's been called the city's Michelangelo, attracting patients from around the world.
I've worked on Kuwaiti princesses, Penthouse and Playmates of the Year, models and actresses.
What you won't see or hear about on TV is when a Dr. Rose surgery goes wrong.
When he did my eye lift while I was under anesthesia, asleep, he caught my eye on fire. It was horrific.
Laura Edwards is executive vice president of U.S. Alloys, a steel distribution company founded by her late father more than 40 years ago. So good at what she did, she's become the steel queen.
They nicknamed me that, and I was like, oh, that's so silly. But then it kind of stuck with me, and I'm like, I kind of like that.
Laura had gone to Dr. Rose for multiple procedures over the years.
I elected to, when I go into a boardroom with all these steel guys, you want confidence.
But on February 7, 2019, she went to Rose for a mini facelift. Only this time, when she woke up from the anesthesia, everything had changed.
He was standing over me and he said there was an accident.
During her surgery, Laura was getting oxygen through a tube in her nose at the very same time Dr. Rose was using an electrosurgical unit, a tool used to burn tissue or stop bleeding. But it's also, we're told, an ignition source. And combined with oxygen, Edwards' lawyers say there was a flash fire that burned Laura's eyelids, her cheek, literally her eyeball.
They didn't know what to do with me. They were terrified.
Laura was at First Surgical Hospital in Bel Air, where Dr. Rose operates. She was transferred to a trauma center, her daughter in the dark.
She's calling, checking to make sure my surgery went okay. And they're like, no, there was an accident. And she's like, what? And she keeps calling and they would hang up on her.
Finally got an ambulance. It is 9:30 at night.
Tests at the hospital revealed the fire burned off half of Laura's cornea. She says her vision was permanently damaged when Dr. Rose put out that fire with a sponge. Not only was Laura in constant pain, she couldn't read anything for nearly 6 months, like technical documents, metal specifications. The Steel Queen couldn't do her job.
When she started falling off, I was left out there on my own.
So welcome to my science project, which I deal with every day.
Laura now wears a scleral lens, bigger than a regular contact and filled with fluid, but by the middle of the workday, her eye starts burning.
And it's just the burn, and then once the burn starts, then this temple starts to pulse, and I can hear it in my ears, like pulsing, pulse. Oh God, okay. It feels like you're taking your whole eyeball out of your head.
Even with the lens, reading is difficult and tiresome.
You had to take it out because it was burning.
Yeah. I trusted him. He was supposed to protect me.
This is a big deal. You know, a patient catching on fire is a big deal.
Dr. Emilio Lobato is an anesthesiologist in Gainesville, Florida, one of 2 experts who looked at Laura's case and decided that Dr. Rose committed one or more acts of negligence.
The surgeon has to inform the anesthesiologist that they're going to use an ignition source so the anesthesia provider can shut down the oxygen.
But Dr. Lobato says Dr. Rose didn't inform the anesthesiologist or even take a time out to let the oxygen dissipate, even after the fire. He says Dr. Rose failed to document what happened and do a root cause analysis to keep it from happening again.
In fact, Dr. Rose was pretty arrogant, saying, I've been doing it like this for years. Well, it's like saying, I don't stop at the stop sign for years.
We looked at courthouse records and couldn't find any other allegations of surgical fires.
Getting away with stuff, even though you're practicing substandard, is not an excuse.
Dr. Scott Kasdan, he's a plastic surgeon in Argyle, Texas, who also signed a sworn statement that Dr. Rose committed several mistakes that led to her surgical disaster. One of them, the failure to insert corneal shields to protect her eye from a fire, like the one Laura currently wears just to see.
If he would have used that, we wouldn't have this discussion right now.
You know, there's been litigation involved, and she's a lovely, lovely patient.
A lovely patient who's now suing the famous doctor for malpractice.
Our most important consideration here at Utopia Plastic Surgery and Med Spa is the safety of the patient.
But Laura says she was never told that one of the risks was her eye catching on fire.
100%. Would never have done it in a million years. Nope.
You can find other Dr. Rose patients with regrets. Kimberly H. writes, horrible experience, botched me for life. Franny H. writes, she was treated like total crap when things didn't go right.
I don't feel like I look so good from the angle that my phone shows.
And then there's Ann Hammond, who sued the doctor, claiming she was promised a free facelift in exchange for publicity of her before and after photos. She did the before photos, her story even made the news, and the lawsuit claimed Rose allegedly never performed her surgery. And Laura, well, she's most offended at what Dr. Rose proposed to fix her screwed up eye.
He offered me a lifetime of Botox. That's an insult.
Dr. Rose appears to be fighting any settlement to compensate Laura for extra medical bills, her pain, her suffering, and the damage to her professional life. She says Dr. Rose was a no-show at 2 planned mediations, has rescheduled depositions 3 times.
Yeah, I think that's a misunderstanding. She's a really lovely patient, and I think the world of her.
Why won't you compensate her for the permanent damage to her eye?
Right, she's a lovely patient.
Dr. Rose's lawyers were equally unhelpful.
At this time, I'm not at liberty to share any information about the case.
He shouldn't listen to his attorneys. He should listen to his heart because he knows what happened. And he knows he was wrong.
I'm kind of going for a more Carmen Electra look.
There's no shortage of people who want to change the way they look, but Dr. Lobato says the risks should not be taken lightly by patients or by doctors like Dr. Rose.
This is a pretty egregious stuff, and this might be a sign of something else that has not been fixed. So having popularity is not a substitute for performing with patient safety.
Laura found it hard to find a lawyer. Many malpractice lawyers use the Houston plastic surgeon as an expert witness.
He doesn't take it seriously. He thinks it's a joke. He thinks I'm a gold digger. And this isn't about the money. I have money. This is about justice.
In Texas, there's a $250,000 cap on medical malpractice judgments, so Laura will never get fully compensated. But she goes forward anyway to help others, she says.
You cannot find a malpractice attorney to take your case because of the cap. They'll just tell you up front, nope.
That's why she came to Dolce Fino Media to tell her story.
For him to take this serious, for him to say, yeah, this was an accident. And this will never happen to anybody ever again.
Absolutely fabulous.